Hey guys, before we start, I have to point out that there's going to be a trigger warning here, as not only are we dealing with dissociative identity disorder and other forms of mental illness, but we are also dealing with child death, alcoholism, and child abuse. So yeah, there's some upsetting parts we're going to be covering here. If you don't want to watch, I understand. Okay, so once again, I'm going to give a recap and then my overall thoughts on episode 5, then I'm going to do a recap and my overall thoughts on episode 6, and then I'll probably just give an overall series grade after that. So, okay, also, there's going to be spoilers kind of throughout all of this, unfortunately. There's just no real way to avoid them. And there's also not going to be a lot of pictures for episode 6, unfortunately. In order to try to get this out in as timely manner as possible, I had to get a couple of bare bones ones, and that's just going to have to be it. Okay, so episode 5 is called Asylum, and obviously we pick up right where episode 4 left off with Stephen and Mark in the asylum with not Amit, as I had previously said. It was Taweret, a different Egyptian deity. Why did I say Greek? Taweret, but then it immediately snaps back to Mark in Dr. Harrow's office, making it seem like this was all an illusion. And then, as this is happening, Dr. Harrow, not to be confused with Harrow in what is supposedly the real world, I guess, trying to talk Stephen out of his delusions, and even at one, not Stephen, Mark Spector, and then at one point even trying to talk to Stephen, admitting that Stephen is, does suffer from dissociative identity disorder and has this alternate personality in his head. However, the one part that they don't know, that he's not too keen on, that happens though, as he's talking with Stephen, he lets slip that Mark Spector's mother died, and that doesn't make sense because Stephen has been regularly talking with what he believed to be Mark Spector's mother, and calling his mother on a regular basis, and now he's really confused. And that somehow kind of snaps them back to Taweret, who, and they're suddenly on this ship floating through the desert. And, if you fall off the ship, you get dragged down to the underworld. If you have balance in your life, and there's a scale that you have to weigh your hearts on, if you get your heart and something else on, and if you can find that balance, you can pass through to the field of reeds, which is basically a paradise. Not quite a heaven, but you get the idea. And because this is two personalities inhabiting one body, they have to kind of piece together through their own memories what's going on. And so we then get a journey into Mark Spector's life. As a child, he was a fan of a kind of schlocky, very poor man's Indiana Jones film series starring an adventurous doctor named Stephen Grant. And that's where he, followed through on that. And then his little brother, I did not get the little brother's name. His little brother, was also a fan, and they, went out and played in a Chicago park, and a rainstorm kicked up, and they were unsupervised, and they ducked into a cave to try to keep dry, but it turns out the cave was flooding, and unfortunately Mark's brother drowned, and after that Mark's mother blamed him for the death and began to physically abuse him as she descended further into alcoholism. And basically Mark created the persona of Stephen Grant to project that he was actually a good boy and that he wasn't a bad person. But over time, Mark worked to suppress the Stephen personality, and from there, then he became a soldier of fortune. We get, the traditional Moon Knight origin, as I mentioned a few times before. He was betrayed by Raoul Bushman. They actually didn't name him this time. Except, he wasn't dragged to Fort Khonshu. He kind of, he ducked to try to cover into the pyramid, and that's where he fell before the Khonshu statue. And Khonshu did enlist him to become his avatar, his moon knight, as it were. And then from there, and we also get another bit of what happened with the Steven persona, is that he had suppressed it for a while, but then when Mark got word that his mother had passed, he came back, but could not bring himself to go to the funeral, and that's what woke the Steven personality back up and caused this whole sort of fallout to happen. And, kind of from there, through it all, they wind up achieving some semblance of balance. However, because they don't really want to go, they don't want to be dead, they need to try to get back to the real world and see if Layla can free Khonshu and, hopefully stop Ammit and Harrow. That they have to work together, and these spirits of the dead, who are possibly also spirits of people that Mark killed, are trying to drag him down. But eventually Steven comes to Mark's aid. Unfortunately, he himself winds up falling over, and he sort of turns to stone and begins sinking into the sand after that. And Mark then goes on to the Field of Reeds, and that's kind of how the episode ends. And I'd say, overall, I think it was a really good character-building episode. Like I said, there are some fairly upsetting moments in it. It's, it's not a particularly fun episode, but I think, like I said, it does a good job of laying better groundwork for Mark Spector and how he wound up in this predicament. Like I said, I do think this is doing so much better job of building character than the first episode did, which, left me feeling really cold. That being said, it is kind of a filler episode, so it does there are some wheel spinny points, like the constant bouncing back and forth with Harrow's office is just, it gets really confusing. I had to look up certain names because I couldn't hear them properly, so just little bits and pieces like that, and unfortunately, it does kind of drop it down a little bit. I am going to give episode 5, Asylum, a B. It's overall pretty decent, but yeah, it is kind of also fillery as it builds into the finale.
Yes, my day has finally come.
Guess again, Ultron.
Seems you Avengers lose, Falcon.
Just read part 2, Tinhead.
The Avengers, all new today at 11:30 on Fox Kids.
I hate happy endings.
I'll fight evil. Whoa!
Are you ready to be an Avenger? To be an Avenger, you must be strong, smart, quick, and true. Avengers assemble! Avengers! Ultron's cannon lights up. A is for action. Wonder Man's ready. Ant-Man's mini-jet is set for action. Ant-Man extends. Captain America's droid explodes.
My shield will protect the Avengers. Take that, Ultron.
The Sky Cycle soars into battle. Falcon, surprise attack.
This bird brain.
Hawkeye's quick-draw arrow will punish evil.
Ah!
The Avengers, united they stand, each sold separately.
Okay, so now we are on to the finale, Gods and Monsters, and unfortunately I think this is kind of a clunker. I thought it was building up to something nice, and we are getting some bits and pieces in this, but it kind of, like I said, sort of just falls apart after a while, unfortunately. Basically what happens in this is Harrow gets his hands on the entombment of Ammit and the little statue. The funny thing is, I thought Layla had clearly grabbed it in episode 4 and was running off, but no, they managed to find it on Mark Spector's body. So, yeah, it's weird. I could have sworn Layla grabbed that, but anyway, Layla basically lays in hiding. She tries to hitch a ride. She's trying to get Harrow in a position where she can kill him, but in the process of doing so, Toweret manages to get a message out to her that, hey, no, this isn't going to work. You need, he's pretty much almost entirely freed Ammit at this point. You need to get Khonshu and free him, because that's about the only way you're going to get this done. And so she has to, ride, she downs in disguise and hitches a ride with Harrow's group as they go to the big the chamber of, let me think, what is it in here? Chamber of the Gods, that's it, yeah. The Chamber of the Gods, who, the gods' avatars are still sitting there, and, they're suddenly surprised that this guy that Khonshu said was evil turned out to be evil, and that he's planning to free Ammit. They try to stop him, but he just, mows through and kills all of them. And as this is happening, though, Layla does free Khonshu, who offers to make her his new avatar. She doesn't want to do that. And kind of as this is happening in the Land of the Dead, the Field of Reeds, Mark says, no, I can't do this. We have to try to get back. We have to try to fix this. So he enters back out into near the opening of the underworld, manages to locate Steven, and they kind of, they get back into contact just long enough that basically the power of them making peace with each other and agreeing to work together allows for things to begin to get reversed as Khonshu is also awakened. Khonshu is able to contact them and open a pathway for them to come back, and for them to be Moon Knight again, and then Towerette also helps get them through the gate back to the Land of the Living. And as that is happening, unfortunately, Layla has been found out as Ammit has been fully awakened. Khonshu attempts to hold Ammit off, but Ammit has made Harrow her personal avatar fully at this point, and is using him to seek out sinners to kill and destroy before they can commit their sin. Basically the idea is, yes, Khonshu and Ammit both both go after bad people, but Ammit is going after them before they have the choice to actually perform a bad act. So it's like Khonshu's like, wait. Just because someone thinks something bad doesn't necessarily mean they're bad or they're going to do it. They always have the choice. They should be allowed to make that choice before you can't just kill them for having bad thoughts. And, as this is happening, like I said, unfortunately the chamber starts collapsing in on itself. Layla finds one of the remaining avatars, but he's too close to death. He says, we need, one avatar isn't going to bring down Harrow. You need more. And the only way is for Layla to become the avatar for Towerette, which gets her a suit of armor with wings, because hippos fly apparently. And she winds up coming to Moon Knight's aid as he's battling with Harrow. However, in the middle of all of that, suddenly, when it just looks like everything's, Harrow manages to knock back one of the crescent darts, and it pins Layla to a car. He then plunges his cane into Mark Spector's chest, but then suddenly there's this flash, and, the cane is smashed. Harrow is completely beaten and bloodied and just near death. And, Mark is conscious and fully awake. He's like, what happened? I don't know. It's like, Steven, was this you? And Steven's like, no, this wasn't me at all. And, Layla frees them, and they perform this binding chant that returns Ammit to Harrow's body, and supposedly, but, he has to be killed before, so he could be properly and fully entombed. But Mark says no, and he says, look, Ammit is defeated, entombed. If we let him go, if we just put him in an insane asylum or something, everything will be normal and be okay. And also because Steven and Mark made a deal with Khonshu that this was going to be their last fight, that they would be freed. And Khonshu says, okay, if this is your choice, it's your choice, and you are freed. And we then suddenly find ourselves back in the asylum with Dr. Harrow. And Dr. Harrow is like, yeah, none of that was real. This is the real reality. And Mark's like, I don't entirely buy into that. I know, I think this is, a trick to try to trap me again. I'm not having it. And suddenly we flash into London again. So Stephen is back. Mark and Stephen wake up. They seem to be back in London. Everything seems to be okay. They get up and they're chained to the bed again. And that's how this ends. However, of course, there is a credits scene, a mid-credits scene. The Disney Plus shows are just kind of weird because they have the end thing and they do the big over the painting, and then it cuts to a more formal credit sequence, which is just, black and white text. And where they go through all the other stuff. And some, I think, was it WandaVision? They would do a mid credits and then they would do a end credits. But since then, it's pretty much only been mid credits. So in this case, yes, there is a mid credits scene, and it's Harrow. He's in a psychiatric hospital, and this orderly who's dressed entirely in black says, "Oh, I'll take him, don't worry. It's time for bed." And he starts going, and he suddenly realizes he's being pushed out as he's being pushed by a bunch of dead bodies. And he's pushed out to this limousine, he's put in the back seat, and Khonshu is sitting there. And Harrow's like, "Well, you can't do anything to me. There's nothing that can be done. I know your avatar left you. You're just a guy. Yeah, you can't affect the real world." He says, "Oh, funny thing about that. Mark's mind was more damaged than he originally thought. I want you to meet my new associate, Jake Lockley." So yes, this is how they work Jake Lockley in there. It appears Jake Lockley is not just a chauffeur, he's also a mob hitman. So I guess he's Ryan Gosling from Drive. So, yeah, and Jake Lockley kills Harrow, and that's kind of how this ends. And admittedly, it was kind of a unique twist there that, I just woke up this other personality in Mark's mind. But at the same time, like I said, this was a real clunker of an episode. I just did not like it. It was, there were some good points, and then it just kind of got really drawn out and repetitive. The whole it took me a while to realize that it was Taweret that, Layla became the avatar for. I had to look it up. Like, I thought it was Taweret's voice, but then it's like, why did she turn into like an eagle? She's got like eagle armor for a hippo deity. And again, like, I could have sworn, episode 4 ended with Layla running off with the statue of Ammit. So how was it on Mark's body when he was shot? And again, like, and then, it seems like we're all working together and this is going to be fine. And then suddenly it's like, no, now we're not doing that anymore either. And it's just like, okay, what's going on here? You're not making things better. You're just making them more confusing and worse. I'm trying to decide if this was better or worse than the finale to Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because that was the other one that was just really clunky and, like, it felt a little rushed. And, like, maybe they could have stretched this out a little more. Maybe there could have been something else to have happened to pad things. It seemed really, monotonous is what I'm saying. It unfortunately just kind of did itself in. And that's kind of why, unfortunately, I have to give this episode kind of a D. Like I said, it left me with way too many questions, but not really wanting answers. Maybe wanting answers, but wanting better answers. Again, it didn't leave me feeling very well at all. And unfortunately, that's one of those things. This kind of really did the series in, because, as you recall, I was not too enthused by the first episode, but I thought the first 2 episodes, but I thought the subsequent episodes were doing really well, and then it kind of fell apart again at the finale, and just, unfortunately, that has really bogged this down. I would have given Moon Knight a full B for the full series had this episode been better at anything, and it just isn't. Unfortunately, that means I have to give the overall series a C. Again, clunky opening, clunky ending, decent middle, but just done in by overall clunkiness, unfortunately. So, the overall series is getting a C. Yeah, I had to record this a few different times. I kept mucking things up. Anyway, the next review is going to be Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I have my ticket for that. So that's going to be taken care of. That'll be up either late Thursday or early Friday. After that, it's going to be the recap and review for Impact Wrestling Under Siege, and then the recap and review for WWE WrestleMania Backlash. I'll get to the rest of the movie and TV schedule after the Doctor Strange review when I have things a bit more planned out. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember, you can help support my channel at patreon.com/SleepyTimeForCat Productions, where you can help request a movie, even if it's something like, say, Sonic the Hedgehog or the next Purge film. I'll review it. Hey guys, one last thing. Just was checking my phone for something quickly, and apparently there was an interview with between Oscar Isaac and the Radio Times, which, in case you're wondering, that's basically the British equivalent of TV Guide. If you remember TV Guide at all, or if you get that idea. But anyway, there was an interview in Radio Times where Oscar Isaac basically seemed to poo-poo the idea that there's going to be a Moon Knight Season 2. So this might have been the series finale and not the season finale. He said he's not if they can work something out, they'll come back maybe, but right now it's not looking like it's going to be. So yeah, make of that what you will.